Hey everyone, James Lynch here doing a quick reaction video to the news that Ronda Rousey is coming out of retirement to take on Gina Carano in a 5-round featherweight MMA bout May 16th in Los Angeles as part of MVP Promotions. We had heard some rumblings about Ronda Rousey coming back. Remember, there's that whole rumor about her and Katie Taylor in boxing, and I was like, what a terrible idea. Ronda Rousey's not known for her boxing, but this is an MMA fight, so it does change things a little bit, and glad to see this is not in the UFC, because there was also some talk about they're doing the White House card. Is Ronda going to come back for that? All that stuff. I don't mind this. I know there's going to be people who don't like this. They're going to say they're not watching. That's fine. MVP, boxing, all that stuff, those other promotions that are outside the UFC, those don't have anything to do with the UFC, so I don't care. Those are what they are. It's like Misfits Boxing, Andrew Tate Boxing, all that stuff. That's its own thing. It has nothing to do with the UFC. So I don't mind this at all, because there will be people tuning in. There will be people watching for the nostalgia of Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano. Most people watching this video know Ronda Rousey. Most people probably don't know Gina Carano, who fought back in Strikeforce. She had one of the biggest women's fights of all time against her and Chris Cyborg. So this is interesting, and it's at featherweight, which is interesting too. Ronda Rousey primarily fighting at bantamweight throughout her MMA career. Carano only fighting at 145. So a lot to unpack here. So this is just from Andreas Hale. We'll look at the press release here from ESPN. Of course, Andreas Hale working for ESPN, one of the best in the business. Let's go have a quick look at the paragraph here. It says Ronda Rousey will return for nearly a decade when she faces Gina Carano in Los Angeles. This is part of Jake Paul's Most Valuable Promotions. They'll face off at 145. Will be sanctioned under the unified rules over MMA. Rousey said, been waiting so long to announce this. Me and Gina are going to throw down in the biggest super fight in women's combat sports history. We're partnering with the Fighters First Promotion MVP, as well as the biggest and baddest streamer planet on the planet, Netflix. So this is on Netflix too. So this will do good numbers. I mean, again, there's going to be people who are like, this sucks, I don't care. If it's on Netflix, if it's two of the biggest names in combat sports, people are going to tune in. This is going to do quite well. I'm almost positive on that. There is a bit of an age gap here between the two of them. Hold on. We're just going to see Ronda Rousey is one of one athlete. What other female has sold 50,000 plus tickets to an event and generated millions of pay-per-views? That's true. She transcends combat sports and represents greatness. Carano is 43, so yeah, a few years older. She's done a lot of movies as of late. Ronda came to me and said there's only one person she would make a comeback for, and that's been a dream to make this happen between us. She thanked me for opening the doors in her career and was respectful in asking this fight to happen. This is an honor. I believe I'll walk out to this fight with the win. I anticipate it will not come easy, which I welcome. This is as much for Ronda as it is for me. MVP is always driven by disruption and delivering the biggest moments in combat sport on a global scale. Ronda Rousey and Gina Carano are the most formative figures in the history of women's MMA. We get it. Just a bunch of accolades about how great this fight is. Let's. They also have a promo video here. Let's go have a quick look at that with some cool. Actually, I'll mute the music so in case YouTube tries to boot me out, but here we go. This is actually legit. It's happening. A little corny, but there we go. And you can see height and reach wise, not like a huge difference. I mean, Gina does look a little bit bigger here, but I like that this is at 145 because, you know, Rousey obviously hasn't competed in a while. Gina fights normally at 145. I got to imagine Gina's a little bit heavier than 145 as well. So I'm wondering if she's going to have to cut some weight here. So yeah, Gina 43, 5'8" with the 66.5 inch reach. Ronda Rousey's 5'6" with the 66 inch reach. So just a 0.5 reach advantage there for Gina. She's just a little bit taller by 2 inches. Ronda Rousey a couple years older at 39. And of course, Rousey has not fought since that loss to Amanda Nunes back in December of 2016. So almost a decade ago was the last time Ronda fought, coming off 2 losses. Prior to that, a number of great wins. Again, if you weren't around for the Ronda Rousey era, you just wouldn't understand. If you're looking at the box score and going, okay, she lost 2 in a row. Ronda was, she had one of the biggest impacts in MMA. I mean, there was a point where you could combine all of her highlights at once and it would be like a minute. She was like this wrecking machine for quite some time, and it was really, really popular at the time. Ronda Rousey was. Now, Gina Carano, again, if you were sort of a hardcore fan and you followed MMA back, you know, towards the beginning of the infancy of Strikeforce, Gina was a big name for the Strikeforce brand and Elite XC, I should say as well. Yeah, more so Elite XC than Strikeforce, but she had that fight with Cyborg, which was huge at the time. That was like a really big matchup. Of course, Gina getting finished in the first round there. Prior to that, though, made her name with Elite XC. Obviously, when you think of Elite XC, you think of Kimbo Slice, you think of Gina Carano. They were some of the bigger names that went out there. And Gina had some good wins, like Tanya Evinger fought in the UFC. Caitlin Young went on to a decent career after that. So it was interesting. And this was back when, again, like, you know, we saw when Ronda went to the UFC, there was mainly bantamweight, flyweight, and strawweight, but featherweight wasn't really a big thing. I know the UFC did have a featherweight division for a while, but Gina was sort of the first one to kind of put it on the map along with Chris Cyborg. So very interesting stuff here as we see Gina coming back for the first time since August of 2009. I'm not sure what type of training she's been doing since then. Like I said, she's been doing a lot of movies and all that stuff, but this will do well. And listen, I'll watch it. It's on Netflix. I'm just, just kind of to see where they're at in their career. I'm not expecting like a high level fight between these two. Again, they've both been removed from the sport for quite some time, but these are two of the biggest names in women's MMA. I mean, people will talk about Amanda Nunes being the greatest women's fighter of all time. Don't debate that. Who's the biggest star in women's MMA? It's Ronda Rousey. There's no question about it. And I know there's a lot of MMA fans don't like the way that Ronda exited MMA, the way she talked about the media and the fans. I get all that. That's all fair criticism. But you can't deny the numbers. You can't deny the hype that Ronda had back in the day. And similarly for Gina Carano, she was extremely popular back when she was fighting. Again, Gina was the first sort of big superstar in women's MMA, and then came Ronda Rousey after. So if you've been following MMA for a while, again, these two, again, have been bigger names in a while. And it's, again, it's an MMA fight. I would have been feeling a little bit differently about this if this was just a pure boxing fight. But the fact that it's MMA, it's going to be very interesting. Can Ronda get Gina to the ground? Again, if you look at Gina's loss, her only loss was a knockout loss to Chris Cyborg. Gina's got, some decent ground as well. So it'll be interesting. I know she's only got one submission win, but fight starts standing. We'll see if Gina's able to stuff some takedowns. I'm really curious to see where both are going to be training for these fights. Obviously, one of the sort of punchlines with Ronda Rousey's career is that she trained with Edmund Tarvinian, who of course was Edmund Shabazian's coach for a long time. And Edmund obviously had a lot of struggles with him. So wonder what type of camps we're going to have. I know I think Gina's done some training in the past at Jackson Wink. So I don't know if she'll maybe go back there, but really curious to see the training camps and all that. When is the date again? It's May 16th. So we got some time. You know what? I don't mind this. I'll check this out on Netflix. I think it's going to be interesting. Again, because it's the right way that they're doing this. It's not boxing. It's not bantamweight. It's featherweight. Women aren't going to have to cut as much weight. And again, it's two of the biggest names in the sport. So could this lead to other things? Could we see maybe a Chris Cyborg after she's done with PFL? Because we know she's only got one fight left. Will she go the route of MVP and maybe do some boxing or some MMA, these style of fights? And let's be honest, these women are going to get paid to do this. Otherwise, they're not going to come out of retirement to do this. So I think it's a win-win all around. I'll be tuning in. I'll be checking it out. And as far as a pick in this one, I mean, you got to go Ronda just based off experience and just how great she was doing. I know, again, the fight starts standing, but Ronda was way more of a wrecking ball than Gina was, not to mention having the longer career. If you look at the fights, 13 fights for Ronda, 8 for Gina. And again, Ronda fought more recently too. So you got to favor Ronda here. I'm curious to see what the odds will be on this fight, but good for the women here, making a mark. This is outside the box, and I think fans really can't complain. It's not under the UFC banner. Like this in the Paramount era, this would have seemed like a fight the UFC would have put together. Am I wrong about this? Right? Because they're trying to do more entertaining, more like sort of catch your eye type fights, and this sort of fits the mold. I think with it being an MVP, it's totally different. And again, I don't have any issue with it happening or taking place. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Did you see this coming? What do you think of this fight? Are you going to be tuning in? Who wins? Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @Lynch on Sports. My name is James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.